Thank you. And I'd like to thank Christine and all of you for inviting me to share this day with you. I am currently a research subject for the animals who live with me. And they are studying humans in their native habitat and their ability to learn with positive reinforcement. The results are shady. How many here are dog people? How many here are cat people? How many here are rabbit people? How many here are guinea pig, hamster, small moving critters on the ground people? And we could do this all day. So how many here are animal people? And what if I asked you, how many here are people? Okay, all right, so we've got a problem already. But I think this is the important thing to understand, is that I have found that the animals have kindly selected me to share their wisdom. And so they work with me to learn life lessons. This picture looks like art. This is a star nova taken by the Hubble telescope, and it's called the cat's eye. I believe this is where the cat souls live. They're there, it's out there, it is their understanding. They look back at us and see what we can't. We're stuck here on the ground trying to figure it out. So I have begun to learn from my animal friends that they are teaching us about time. So think about the questions we have with our pets. Was it the right time? Did we have enough time? Could I get more time? Could I have spent better time? What the animals have shown me is that time is very different from your perspective. A mayfly's life is 24 hours. Imagine breathing a life in 24 hours. Okay, probably faster than that. Whales, we don't even know how long whales live. We know that a lifetime for a tree is realized in a day that's a year long. Spring is morning, summer is day, fall is evening, and winter is night. Try breathing in that space. Really difficult, but think the perspective that you have breathing in a year space. The animals tell me there's no accident that those who have chosen to live with us most closely, dogs, cats, horses, have lifespans that are reflective of the seasons of our life. 10 to 15 years, and we have shifts in our life. Okay? Let me share a couple of seasons learnings with you. First, a quick season. This is the season of the chicken. Ruby chicken came to me from a feed store and selected herself, and I went out to the chicken coop the next day to feed, and this chicken came over and stood on my feet. And I thought, great, he gave me a sick chicken. Well, she wasn't sick. She was pointing out that I needed to learn from a chicken, and I'm like, chicken. Well, Ruby actually flew to New York with me twice in a plane. She was an award winner for the ASPCA Trooper Award for therapy animals. And when we arrived, she had a room at the Pierre. on 7th Avenue. I was allowed to stay with her, which was nice of her, I thought. And we were greeted by a reporter from CNN who was a New Yorker, a real Yankee. And she said, well, who could think a chicken was cuddly? And I said, well, you'd have to get to know her. And I said, you could hold her if you'd like. And she was, okay. So she held out very stiff fingers and grabbed Ruby around the body by her stiff fingers. And of course, Ruby exploded as only chickens can, cackling and flying across the room. And I said, well, you have to be a little more gentle. Well, we had to go to the banquet, which they had not had. We did not have chicken that banquet. After the award show, the reporter came up back to me, and everyone was gone. We were in the lobby of the Pierre, and her assistant was packing up the camera, and she said, so, why did you name her Ruby? And I said, well, I'll show you. I said, hold out your hands, and just make your hands gentle. And I put Ruby in her hands, and I said, and then you hold her like this, and you hold her close. And I said, I named her after that song, Oh, Ruby, don't take your love to town. So she starts singing and rocking. And the chicken's looking at her, and she's rocking and singing. And I noticed her camera guys trying to get the tape back in the camera. And I said, you realize you're standing in the lobby of the Pierre singing to a chicken? She said, I do. And then she looked over at her cameraman and she said, no, I wouldn't take that camera out of the case. So Ruby taught me that even the most hardened attitudes can be changed. This is the season of the gray horse. Paul Belichick, and that was me when I had blonde hair. He and I were both from New York. We were both gray, and we both had a great smile. He didn't need glasses, but I do. Paul Belichick, who's a dressage rider for the United States equestrian team, said everybody needs a gray horse. And I think that goes along with gray cat or gray dog or gray whoever. Murphy came to me because he was a rescue from the racetrack, because I met this boy when he was 3, and it was clear he didn't understand the concept of a race. When I was coming down the stretch, when people started to applaud, he'd slow down and wave. Murphy. So I followed his non-illustrious career until the owner told me that he had sold him to the killers. And I said, well, have they come to pick him up yet? And he said, no, but they're coming up Friday. And I said, well, if I get there first, can I have it? And he said, well, only if you have cash. I mean, this was the racetrack. So I said, okay, and I got a friend, and we hooked up the horse trailer, and we drove all the way across New York State in a snowstorm. We pulled into the track gate, 2 cars in front of the killer truck. We got the ramp down. Murphy was, I hadn't seen him in a year, and he was neighing and banging on the door like, get me up. We got him to the trailer, and he didn't fit. And it's the first time I've ever used a horseshoe to get a horse in a trailer. And we had to lean against the door and close the door, and his cheeks were sticking out over the edge. And we drove him another 12 hours back to New York because the transmission went out on the truck. Murphy, the season of Murphy was 28 years. He outlasted 2 husbands, 2 graduate degrees, and my recovery from open heart surgery. And he was my occupational therapist. He was good enough not to buck me off the day I decided I was well enough to get on without a bridle or anything else. And he stood there and went, this is a bad idea. Anyway, I had a workshop, which was for organizational people to learn leadership skills, and we were all going to go in and stand with the horses. And this one woman came up to me and she said, I'm terrified of horses. I really don't think I could do this. And I said, that's fine, you can wait outside. And she said, no, I want to go in. I said, okay, well, you can stand behind me. And she said, okay. We went in the ring. There were 10 of us. And I had Murphy and his donkey, and we all stood in a circle. And Murphy looked and looked, and he saw her, and he stared at her. And of course, being his mother, I knew he was staring at me, looking for my direction. No. He picked up a stick, started twirling it in that long lip of his. And I'm looking at him thinking, has he got gas? And he dropped the stick and then he looked. And I thought, and he took a step closer, and all of a sudden I could hear her shaking behind me. I said, you want to leave? She said, no, I'm okay. I'm thinking, oh, do I have enough insurance for this? He picked up another stick and he twirled it. He dropped it, and he'd take a step towards her. Well, he worked himself over to her, and he put his nose on the top of her head and he pushed down. And I thought, okay, I've never seen a horse with this kind of illness. What is going on? And everybody else in the circle we were dumbfounded. She started to sob. And she said, I was sexually assaulted by my mother for years, and I've never told anyone. And I was like, oh my. At which point, he put his chin over her shoulder, pulled her next to his chest, and hit her in the curve of his neck, where she sobbed. Murphy taught me to be a clinician. And when she had gotten control, she pulled down his ear, and she said something to him, and he rubbed his face against her face and walked away. And as he got to the gate, he turned and looked over his shoulder like, it's your turn. See if you can do better. Now, the interesting thing is the day that Murphy passed, he was down in his stall. He had been down all the day before, and we knew that he had something and he was not going to get up again. So the vet was on her way. And Yoda, this is Yoda. Yoda's a Norwegian fjord horse, so that's why he looks that way. Yoda was a year old. And Yoda was in the stall across the aisle. We had 3 other horses and 4 donkeys. And we were waiting for the veterinarian to come, and we had been with Murphy all night. And my farm manager came up and he said, you want me to let the other horses out? And I said, yeah, I think so. So he went down the barn aisle and he opened all the doors, and everybody walked past Murphy's stall. And Yoda's stall was right across the aisle, and he was the last one let out of his stall. Well, he didn't leave with the other horses. He walked across the aisle, he came into Murphy's stall, walked around him, and put his nose to Murphy's nose. And they stood like that for about 5 minutes. And then Yoda looked up and walked out. And my farm manager, who's a very pragmatic man, he said, I think they shared a secret. And he said, I think he told him what he wants Yoda to do with you from now on. And I thought, this might not be good. Murphy passed away shortly after that. And Yoda, I was going to sell because I was moving to Minnesota and going to start an advanced degree and couldn't take a horse. But as you can see, Yoda had other ideas. He is now the next teacher in line that I have to pay attention to and listen to, and he's much different than happy-go-lucky Murphy. But this is now the season of Yoda. And Yoda teaches me with much less patience. He's very Norwegian, and he just says it. So one day I'm out riding him in the forest, and I keep him because he helps me relax from, all the stuff I have to do. And so I'm on him, and I'm trying to get him to hurry towards the barn, and getting hopping around in the saddle, and he stops. And I'm like, oh, this is not a good thing. And he turns his head and looks back over the saddle. And you can just hear him, he goes, look, are you out here for relaxation and quiet? Yes. Well then, relax and shut up. Let me do the walking. And I let go of the reins, and he took us home. Yoda apparently is teaching me wisdom in silence. Okay. So these seasons are something that we move through. And the season of winter, the season that you've all experienced, the season of death, in the Celtic understanding is the season of the Cailleach. And she is the hag of winter. And she carries sticks on her back, and she has one eye. And she teaches through destruction. But what she teaches is that in order for the next season to begin, we have to go through the closing of the season previous to that. She says she is there to help us let go of what is no longer needed. And I think that's the story and the message from our animal friends. You have learned this lesson. I will see you again because we are in it. We are here to help you learn. And we have to go get recharged and come back. You will see us again. So she knows that she saves all the seeds from autumn to plant again in the spring. It is no coincidence to me that this celebration is being held on the Celtic festival of Candlemas. And that festival recognizes that winter has been defeated. Thus the sun today. That we may have some more snow, we may have some more storms, but the light is returning. And this to me is where the dogs go. This is another picture from Hubble. And this is the birth of another solar system. These are millions of light years away, but they're there. They're out there. And they are informing us. So I would like you now to join me and light your candles. Could the Paws, Whiskers, and Wax team please turn down the lights?